Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to episode 3 of Voice Over Histories. I'm Katie Aiken, and this is the docuseries that shines a light on the people, the projects, and the stories from the voiceover industry of days gone by. In this episode, we're going back behind the mic to discover a bit more about a voice legend, the man of 1,000 voices, Mel Blanc. You may well already be familiar with the name Mel Blanc, considering that he is one of the most prolific, iconic, and versatile voiceover artists the world has ever seen. But as is often the case with the greats of the past, his legacy is shrouded in elements of myth. But don't worry, there's also bucket loads of legend too. He was born in 1908 in San Francisco, but grew up in Portland, Oregon. Stories of Blanc's youth suggest that although he was certainly always quite a character, he had a rebellious streak. At the age of 9, he started smoking, maintaining a packet-a-day habit until he was 77. There are also tales from his formative years that suggest he was not exactly every teacher's star pupil. One such example of this, which is rather pleasingly foretelling, was an over-the-top laugh that Mel Blanc developed, expressly to annoy his high school principal. This distinctive laugh that he cultivated as a schoolboy would later become the iconic laugh of Woody Woodpecker.
Guess who?
At the age of 16, Blanc changed the spelling of his surname from Blanc with a K to Blanc with a C. Allegedly, this came after a teacher told him that he would amount to nothing and be much like his name, a blank. As weak a pun as it is, it obviously rubbed him up the wrong way. However, despite perhaps being a bit of a wind-up merchant, he obviously showed early creative talent, both in creating characters with his voice and also as a musician, being proficient on various instruments, including the bass, violin, and sousaphone.
How old were you when you realized you had this talent? I imagine you were probably a kid in school and you made silly sounds.
Right.
To break everybody up.
At assemblies, and the kids would better get a big kick out of it and laugh, and the teachers would laugh too.
Right.
Then naturally you'd get lousy marks. I don't know why.
After school, Mel Blanc spent years progressing his way through radio, starting in local stations in Portland in 1927, working all the way up to regular spots on network radio from the mid-1930s onwards, including the highly acclaimed comedy series, The Jack Benny Program. However, his big break into motion pictures and the beginning of his voiceover career with his estimated range of 400 characters came in 1936, when he took over the voice of Warner Brothers cartoon star Porky Pig.
Well, I went to this guy who was in the head of voice, the voice department, and I said to him, I would like to audition for you and have you hear what I can do. And he said to me, I'm sorry, we have all the voices we need. Well, as I say, I was as stubborn as he was, and I went back in a couple of weeks, and I said, won't you please listen to me? He said, sorry, we have all the voices we need. This went on for over a year. And he kept giving me the same story, we have all the voices we need. Finally, the guy died. It's okay, I laughed too.
And you went back and he wasn't
went back to
there.
the next man in charge, and his name was Treg Brown. So I told him I had tried to give this other guy an audition. He says, the other guy doesn't even know what voice to use. And he's going, now, you work with me. So I did, and he's the one that really gave me my start.
And what was that start?
He said, I got a cartoon coming up with a drunken bull. Do you think you can do the voice of a drunken bull? I never say no to anything. I said, yeah, I think I can. He says, what would he sound like? So I thought for a minute, I said, geez, this is my first assignment, I better do it right. So I said, I hear you would sound like it was a little loaded, and I was looking for the sour mash. So I did the job, and then I think Leon Schlesinger was handling the voice part or the cartoon entirely, and he called me in. He said, "Can you do a pig?" He says, we got a guy doing a pig now. We can never stop. He keeps going. He says, can you do a pig and stop when you want to? I said, sure. He said, well, how would he talk? I said, well, he would talk like he would talk like do you want more? And he said, great. So that's when I started doing Porky Pig.
Oh, my gosh.
In Blanc's 1941 contract with Leon Schlesinger Productions, which later became Warner Brothers Cartoons, his wage was $65 per week, which increased up to $75 per week in his 1943 contract. It was between this and his contract the following year in 1944 that the issue of him receiving a screen credit had been discussed and agreed to a degree. In 1944, Mel Blanc was credited as providing voice characterization to Bugs Bunny. In 1945, his credits were extended to include Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. And in 1946, his credits were extended to appear in all pictures in which Blanc's voice characterization is used for a major portion of the motion picture. These screen credits were gradually woven into his contracts under an optional paragraph section, no doubt after various meetings and discussions, although Mel Blanc enjoyed recalling a rather more Hollywood version of events. Animation historian and voiceover artist Keith Scott explains and quotes Blanc like this: "At my better half's urging, I marched into Leon Schleisinger's office to demand a salary increase. It wasn't going to be easy because the producer was notoriously tight-fisted with money." He goes on with his patented narrative. Leon's response was, "What do you want more money for, Mel? You'll only have to pay more taxes." To which Mel counters, "Well, if you won't give me a raise, how about at least giving me a screen credit?" As great a story as this is, and one that Blanc repeated in interviews and his autobiography, it is a bit of a tall tale.
Well, it started when I asked Leon Schlesinger for a raise. And he said, no, what do you want to make more money for? You just have to pay bigger taxes. So I said, well, give me screen credits. He says, who ever heard of giving screen credits for a voice? I said, well, that's the least you can do. So he said, okay, we'll make it voice characterization Mel Blanc. How's that? I said, great. So all the people who had these radio shows knew that it was me doing the crazy voices in the cartoons, and they called me in to do a crazy voice on their show. And at one time I was doing as many as 18 transcontinental shows a week. So I'm glad he didn't give me the raise because it really paid off.
So the myth, or perhaps assumption, perpetuated by Blanc himself, was that he was credited for every role that he performed during this time, which is incorrect. The old ways of doing things didn't change overnight. They took time, and Blanc receiving a screen credit was partially dependent on the particular character's star success. In other words, their importance as a commodity. Before this, Hollywood studios had followed Disney's established policy of keeping voice actors anonymous, under the pretense that it would destroy the magic for audiences if they were aware of the actor behind the mic. In this sense, Blanc was the first to be in a position to make the request and have it granted, which in turn paved the way for future voiceover artists being credited for their work. This part of the story is true, and rightfully a celebrated aspect of Mel Blanc's legacy. Another myth related to the issue of Blanc's screen credits was that some believed that he made this request in order to obtain more work for himself and squeeze other voice actors out of the business. However, considering his status, reports of his popularity, and the amount of work that he was already getting at that point, being one of the top voice artists at the time, it seems highly unlikely that this was the case. In 1961, Mel Blanc was involved in a near-fatal car accident. Following the head-on collision on Sunset Boulevard, he sustained multiple broken bones, including 39 fractures in his right leg alone. triple skull bone displacements, severe concussion. He lost 9 pints of blood and was in a coma for somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks. However, apparently after many attempts to bring him out of the coma, one neurologist tried a different approach. He asked, "How are you feeling today, Bugs Bunny?" To which a miraculously roused Blanc responded, "Hey, just fine, Doc. What's up?" The doctor followed up by asking after Tweety Pie, and Blanc replied with the character's catchphrase,
I thought I saw a putty cat.
As a result of being hospital-bound, this remarkable story is followed by another one. As Blanc was the voice of Barney Rubble in the Flintstones, and the season was still in production, he continued to record from his bed while in a full body cast. Since he obviously couldn't go to the studio came to him, with all the necessary recording equipment, and his co-stars recording together from his hospital room. Following his release from hospital, Mel Blanc increased the amount of charity work he already did at shrine hospitals where he entertained children with his characters and voices. He also went on to voice characters for various Hanna Barbera cartoons throughout the 60s, as well as notable brand characters in adverts, such as Toucan Sam for Kellogg's Fruit Loops.
Listen, have you noticed something very special about new Kellogg's Oot Free Oops Lay? They elves me so delicious day.
Yeah, and they smell good, too.
Smart kid. Crispy and delicious day for breakfast or for acting snay.
They don't spell any different to me.
Why not?
I have a cold.
Oh, boy. Well, Kellogg's puts real orange, lemon, and cherry flavors with colors to match in these crispy little cereal circles made from oats, then spangles them with big crunchy sugar crystals and, do they else make delicious day? Try them. Sparkling with ogre shade.
Else may so delicious day. I have a terrible cold, you know.
Oops, free, oops, lay.
Luckily, it hasn't affected my appetite.
But Blanc regularly returned to the classic Looney Tunes characters that he cherished. In 1976, the state of California hired him to produce 10 radio announcements, using his gaggle of beloved characters, including Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, to warn residents how to prepare for and survive an earthquake. In fact, during the 70s, Mel Blanc was recognized enough himself, in addition to his voice, to feature in an advert for American Express.
Do you know me? I gave Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck their voices, but no one knows me. It's despicable. So now I travel with the American Express card. Then if I'm stranded without enough money and need accommodation, the card can always rescue me. With this, my name won't always draw a blank.
Pick up a card application wherever you see this display.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it. That's all, folks.
And the TV commercial work steadily continued over the decades, with Blanc voicing some of his most popular characters. In the 1980s, he lent his voice to a McDonald's ad as Pepe Le Pew and a Kentucky Fried Chicken ad as Foghorn Leghorn and Chicken Hawk. Then in the 90s, he posthumously appeared in an ad for Holiday Inn as various Looney Tunes characters. In 1988, he was able to rejuvenate the characters for the hit film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The last production Mel Blanc worked on was Jetsons the Movie. He worked right up until his death in 1989, proving his affection for the characters he brought to life with his voice. So much did he cherish the characters he brought to life that he actually credits them with having brought him back to life when he was in that hospital bed in 1961. From his regular charity work entertaining children in shrine hospitals, to helping incite lasting change in the voiceover industry, to bringing a huge amount of the world's favourite characters to life, Blanc made an indelible, positive mark on the world and left it a better place. And on that note,
That's all, folks.
And if you enjoyed this episode of Voice Over Histories, check out episode 1, another Behind the Mic episode with Eartha Kitt. And in next week's episode, we'll be going underground to explore the various voices from various undergrounds around the world. See you then.